Empathy.
Pressure.
Power.
Care.
Upsetting.
Respect.
Compassion. This is things that we all think of when we think of equality versus equity. This is a problem in our schools and it is major. Now we're going to show you how we can strive towards that. Equity versus equality in American schools. Equality is when each individual or group is given the same resources and treated the exact same way, regardless of their own needs or any other difference. Equity recognizes that each individual is different and then accommodates individuals or groups with the exact resources and opportunities to reach the same equal outcome as others. In this photo, you can see on the left side there is less community resources than on the right side, which means that side of the photo shows equality. While on the right side, it shows equal resources in the community, which means that right photo shows equity. In this photo, it shows equality on the left where everyone has equal pedestals. While on the right, it has the pedestals to fit everyone to their needs in order to reach the apples, which shows equity. Now you're probably thinking, why should I care? So what? Well, equity is a big key to success in schools. Many schools today promote equality over everything, but what about the kids that need more help than others to accomplish that same task or goal? The quality of a student's education directly correlates with their lives years down the road. It is important that each of these students are offered individualized support to help students address possible barriers. Schools that prioritize equity versus equality are more involved to their students' needs and provide resources to overcome their specific challenges. Suburban versus rural versus urban. Depending on the areas that students live in will determine the quality of education they will receive. Most rural schools have a lower literacy rate than urban and suburban schools, which is most likely due to the fact that rural areas have high levels of poverty. Schools with higher levels of poverty do not offer their students a variety of advanced classes. Minorities. Minorities such as Black, brown, and low-income families experience high levels of poverty in the education system. Many of these schools lack racial equity. Schools with large amounts of racial diversity tend to spend $733 less per student. Language barriers. Many students are not offered their own cultural-related education in American schools because it is based on English literacy. This is what we would like to see in our schools. For example, equality is giving everyone the same size box to help them see over the fence. Equity is giving each person what they need to see over the fence. For example, a shorter person may need 2 boxes, whereas a taller person may need no boxes. We want to go beyond this and remove the fence altogether and give everyone their individual needs to accomplish the same goals. And now we will be showcasing our interviews, which will be very insightful on equity versus equality.
How did you feel like some students were given more tools in their belt to succeed than other students? Like they had more opportunities given to them, that kind of like that other students weren't given, so they were giving like more opportunities to be successful than other students?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that a lot of kids had more leverage to do better and had more access to different opportunities, kind of depending on who they knew, and what connections they had already had implemented there for them. And then just saying that as in coming from a small town, everybody knows everybody. You know what I mean? Miss girl named Becky, her mom's the coach, her dad's a teacher. Everybody, you know what I mean? Everybody kind of and then siblings, these siblings, both date out of some other type rich family in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? It's just very typical and very set up kinda. So, and you can kind of see that, and you know what I mean, kids who get student of the month, things like that. It's always kids that are real popular and people know and everybody knows in the community, or homecoming especially. You know what I mean? I feel like kids who have good intentions and who are nice and are different and they just aren't popular don't have the same opportunity or acknowledgement when it comes to events like that. You know what I mean? It's always the same.
Was there a large diversity of race, gender, and religion? I went to a Catholic school, so there was not a large diversity of religion. We were all Catholic there. For gender, yes, it was half and half, I would say. And then for race, it was mostly white. There was a few black people there, but not a lot.
Did your school have policies towards equity or equality?
Yes, my school actually gave out scholarships to people who did not have enough money to come to our school, so they would pay half of their tuition or a certain amount of it so that they could come.
All right. Have you seen or experienced inequality at your school based on race or gender?
Yes, actually for both. For gender, I would say because we wear uniforms, there's definitely a lot of inequality just because the guys don't get dress coded and the girls do. We can wear the same exact thing and we'll get dress coded 10 times over. And then as for race, there was an incident where there was both black and white kids that got in trouble, and the white kids only got suspended, but the black kids were expelled from the school. So yes.
Okay, thank you.
When talking about racial equity, we can use this scorecard. We can use a scale from 0 to 5 to determine this. 0 is use harmful policy. 1 is use broad-based policy that appears to be race neutral. 2 is broad-based policy. 3 is broad-based plans with elements of racial equity. 4 is at least half of the policy targets communities of color. 5 is entire policy prioritizes racial equity. And the principles are: number 1, center the needs and leaderships of communities of color. Number 2, name and consider each community of color individually. Number 3, analyze specific outcomes for each racial and ethnic groups. Number 4, set up policies, programs that are responsive in a way that is accurate to display impacts. Number 5 includes a robust implementation and monitoring plan. Here's some racial equity and equality statistics. African Americans are less likely to have access to college-ready courses opportunities than white students. 57% of black students have access. 81% of Asian students have access. 71% of white students have access. African Americans are often located in schools with less qualified and lower paid teachers and staffs. Students of color are in schools that have fewer resources, counseling, internships, extracurriculars, etc. 90% schools that have SOC spend almost $800 less per student and per year than white schools. What educators can do to get involved. Step 1, know all of your students. Each child is a unique and layered person with interests that expand the curriculum. Even each individual's family dynamics are different. Step 2, be a warm demander. It is a relationship with mutual respect and trust. You have to expect greatness from your students. Make sure they know they are intelligent and they need to be aware of their potential. Step 3, practice lean-in assessment. When you start to learn each student's life story, you piece together their learning needs, what they excel in as a learner, and their struggles. No standardized testing is going to answer those questions. Step 4, be flexible with your plan. Don't be afraid to set aside your well-made schedule to individualize instructions. Do not let your discomfort in situations control your decision-making when it comes to the well-being of your students. Step 5, make your class a safe place to fail. Students need to know that failure is okay. An equitable classroom means there is no need to be ashamed. Struggle and failure should be normalized. Maybe have students meet with each other once a week and have them all tell each other the things they struggle with and what they learn from their experiences. Step 6, culture needs to be reviewed as a resource. Don't be culture blind to your students. If you ignore a student's culture, you're ignoring their identity and losing a rich resource for learning. Culture is the way your brain makes sense of the world. Encourage each student where they come from.